So I want to tell you a story, and it might be one that you've heard before, but I think it's an interesting case study for what I want to talk about today. Elvis Presley, the first time that he went on the Ed Sullivan Show in the 1950s, sang his hit song Hound Dog. You know the one. It ain't none like hound dog, crying all the time. Well, there was something interesting that happened in the camera work of him doing this show, and it was that he was only shot from the waist up. Now, nobody paid any mind to this, but it later came out that this was because he was gyrating his hips. He was dancing in a way that no one on television had ever seen before. And then they thought that it was rude and that it was crude and that this wasn't natural. But I think we would say that it worked out pretty well for Elvis. And Elvis, always wanting to stand out against the culture, released an album that 50 million Elvis fans can't be wrong, basically meaning that, hey, you said that I wasn't natural. I sold all these records. Why? Because I was genuine, because it was something that was able to capture the zeitgeist of the culture. It was something that people saw as real and something that represented them. And this gets to the crux of something that I have been upset about all semester. Every time I've given a speech, I've heard be more natural, be more natural, be more natural. But being natural doesn't matter if you're not genuine. If you do not believe what you were talking about, then no one is going to care. If those things can intersect, that's great. Look at Oprah Winfrey, someone who is very nice, very kind, someone that is very natural in the way that she speaks, but it's also genuine because we see that that's who she really is. But then we can take someone like Barack Obama, for example, someone who is considered one of the greatest orators of this generation, but someone that none of us would say is a natural speaker. The long malaise, pauses, the almost seeming like he is thinking of his sentences while he is speaking them doesn't seem natural, but it's genuine because it fits the professorial character of Barack Obama. And now you might say, Taylor, none of this matters. You know, this is just you being upset because people say your speaking style isn't natural. But I will point this out. Let's use the example of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump in the 2016 election. I read a scholarly article that was talking about people being genuine. It pointed out how Hillary Clinton was probably more qualified politically to be the president of the United States. You can say what you want about Donald Trump and his business exploits, and if that qualifies him in some way. But they were both very unlikable. Both of them very much unlikable characters, very seedy characters. If you're on the other side, you believe that they've both done wrong things. Now, what pushes Donald Trump over the finish line that doesn't push Hillary Clinton over the finish line? It seemed genuine. Neither of them spoke naturally. But Donald Trump at least seemed genuine. He spoke to something in the culture that that a lot of people at least were feeling. And he offered solutions for something to do about it. And that gets into the next scholarly article that I read that talked about this idea of lexical richness. People don't like being talked down to. In fact, you can get away with the most of it in a written essay. You can get away with a little more of this verboseness in your oral monologues, things like doing public speaking, but you can't get away with it in a conversation. But it also proves that while you're moving up through these mediums, that there is a little more verboseness in how you're speaking. And this thing changes from person to person. So that doesn't mean that we dumb down what we're saying because we're giving a speech or we dumb it down from an essay. No, we need to stick to who we are because every person is a different data point that makes this chart. And so I go to the last example. What makes something entertaining? What engages people? I'll use Kevin Hart, for example. Actually, an example of someone I went to high school with who we called Pookie. Now, Pookie kind of looked like Kevin Hart, but he acted exactly like him. Just, somebody who very loud, very verbose, very just, over the top. And I love watching Kevin Hart movies or seeing his stand up, but I couldn't stand Pookie. Now, why is this? Because Pookie didn't seem real. Pookie didn't seem genuine. He didn't seem like he was actually that guy. It seemed that he was trying to be someone else. And this is what the scholarly source said about being entertaining. People actually have to see the person being in that situation. That's why most action stars are jacked up. That's why most comedians are smaller, because silly things happen to small people and awesome things happen to large people. These are things that are wired into our brain. So all of this comes down to one idea: being genuine, not being natural, because people can fake being natural. but I want to listen to something that someone cares about. I want to listen to something that someone is passionate about, that they really love. And that's why I think being genuine is more important than being natural. Thank you.